The application we'll use in this screencast as an example is a showcase website that I created to promote an application designed some years ago. Although this is a rather simple website consisting of less than a dozen pages, it's a full-fledged Rails application and is composed of most of the elements characterizing a Rails application. There are controllers available, there are lists, there's interaction with a database. At the same time, this application contains plugins using functionality introduced only recently with Rails 2.3.5 called Metal. Finally, tests and factories are also available. Therefore, as we can all see, a small application can contain the best functionality that's also found in more complex Rails applications. This way, it'll be possible for us to closely examine all the main new features introduced with Rails 3, showing exactly what needs to be modified to upgrade from Rails 2.3 to Rails 3. Before proceeding with the installation of Rails on our computer, we have to make sure we have a version of Ruby compatible with Rails 3. In fact, starting from Rails 3, Rails only supports Ruby versions 1.8.7 or later. If, as in this case, we're using a previous version of Ruby, such as Ruby 1.8.6, the installation must be upgraded. If we use a Linux or Mac computer, we can use RVM. RVM, or Ruby Version Manager, is an interesting library enabling the use, on the same computer, of several versions of Ruby at the same time. In this case, therefore, coming back to our application, it still doesn't work because it's necessary to restart the server. We restart our application. We go back to our home page, and here it is. Our application works on Rails 3. Now it's left to us only to browse the application and verify that all sections of the site work correctly. In this specific case, we could notice a problem deriving from a modification in the management of the escaping of the characters starting from Rails 3. This modification shows exactly in the error we can see inside this box, that is, in some portions of text which, instead of being displayed as HTML, i.e. interpreted by the browser, they are displayed as HTML code. This is due to the fact that, starting with Rails 3 within the templates, the escaping of any HTML contained in the strings is done automatically. Also, this aspect, i.e. escaping in Rails 3, would deserve an entire screencast of its own. For the time being, let's just have a look at the modifications needed to have the application work properly. Deeper analyses are found at the links contained in the web page relevant to this screencast. The HTML code of that box is contained in the partial module_donation, which in turn uses a method, a helper, to print the content. And the main one guilty is that HTML is exactly within this string, as well as within this method. Unfortunately, this method was not covered by the tests, the reason why we haven't discovered it when we ran the test suite. This again is proof of the importance of a test suite, adequate to most, if not all, the methods working within our application. By doing so, any incompatibility for any upgrade will be immediately noticed, and an effective corrective measure will be possible. The problem here is the adoption of this concatenation of strings, which, with regards to Rails 3, aren't considered safe strings. As a consequence, when they're displayed, the sanitization of the content is carried out. Let's do a little refactoring here, in order to use methods which return strings already sanitized, such as content tag. So, in this case, we'll use some helpers available to Rails, such as content tag, to generate the HTML instead of writing the strings ourselves with HTML inside. Then we reload our web page to verify that the modification works correctly. And in fact, the HTML is displayed correctly and no code is displayed.